Welcome to Shame Watch, a guilt-free dive into those massive movie failures that we hate to love. Each week, we look at the movie that either we or our guests love, but society shames them for. We peek into each nook and cranny for every bright spot, keeping the public at bay while watching these movies like the miracles that they are. And today, we're still walking in during the day with killing vampires with one of our favorite vampire hunters, Blade. My name is Aaron Salinas. You might notice that it's not James popping in this one. He's doing some camping. He's taking social distancing to its ultimate, and he's dearly missed here. But I'm Aaron Salinas, editor and all-around cool guy, I guess. And to my right is Kenny. That's you.
Kenny Madison, chief archivist of flatfilms.com, where we publish a podcast each week. And then we also have other stuff on our Patreon feed. And right next to me is
Olivia Slappin' Swattas. I am everybody's favorite co-host, and I am the social media coordinator and thirst trap queen and Deacon Frost's former boo, because he's no longer with us.
Rest in power, Deacon Frost.
Yeah, today, folks, we're still chugging along with Snipuli, trademark.
Amazing.
And we're covering Blade this month. Marvel's firm foundation, and jump off into cinematic, at first cinematic relevance, now cinematic dominance up to this point.
Oh, that's good. You make sure that those levels peak whenever you say that. That's good.
And it could not be done without Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Facts.
So we're starting off with if you're listening now, it's a lot better, and it's more the continuity sticks if you start with Blade. So go ahead, pop over to last week's episode, taking a listen to that. There's some good juicy bits. But now we're talking about Blade 2, y'all.
Let's do it.
Let's talk.
All right. Guillermo del Toro is the director. Oh, right away.
Do you like Guillermo del Toro?
Right away, we know this is my favorite Blade movie. and I will say, I mean, the ranking isn't that difficult because there's only 3, but Blade 2 is tops. Not by much, though. I'll be real, because I really love Blade. I think Blade is a great film. But Blade 2 kind of just slips in there more just because you got those little sprinkles of Del Toro in there. And I'm a big fan of Del Toro sprinkles.
Are you? I just had no idea that you liked Del Toro.
Oh my gosh, is this the guy who directed Grinding Nemo? Amazing.
Oh, Aaron, you need to put this on your listing for this week. Aaron, get your notebook ready. You need to put this on your listing for this week. Aaron,
give it to me.
All right, here we go. Aaron, are you ready? I think I've talked about podcast before, but if you haven't listened to this, especially you need to listen to this. The podcast Best Movies Never Made, talking about Guillermo del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness, which I believe he, within the past week, made a statement saying he still wants to make this movie. They read snippets of the actual screenplay on the podcast itself. I think it's a 2-part episode, or it's a 2-parter. But they just talk about one of Guillermo del Toro's never made movies as of yet. He even had the backing of James Cameron on this movie. And they were like, no, don't want you to do this.
Is it because it's Lovecraft and they're scared of Lovecraft?
I think the budget was supposed to be $150 million, which is a steep ask, but at the same time, you've got James Cameron backing you. This is Del Toro. I think Del Toro has... Well, Del Toro hasn't exactly always been successful at the box office. Though. He's all critically well-respected, but not necessarily a commercial filmmaker.
He's very much a Fox Searchlight camper. And what I mean by that is it's very niche movies. They're not, huge, blockbuster successes. The only thing I can think that's remotely close to filling those shoes is Pacific Rim.
And that one didn't even it performed well internationally, but domestically, just not something that performed that well.
Yeah,
at all. Very much a flop here, and only got a sequel just because of international stuff. And even then, Del Toro was kind of booted off of it, even though it's his baby. Like, he's on the record of going, they did not make the Pacific Rim 2 that I wanted to see. And whenever Guillermo del Toro is upset, you've kind of done something wrong, because he seems like, well, he's Totoro. And
he's Totoro.
Yeah.
Like, he's, and I mean this with all the love and respect in the world, he's too weird for commercial success.
But he frequently goes to commercial stuff. And I think is quite good at it. Yeah.
Olivia, what's your take on Del Toro?
I like him. I think he's a cinematic anomaly. And I liked The Shape of Water. I thought it was weird. Not just because, Grinding Nemo, but I thought it was really just very endearing. Was it your typical romance? No. Does this mean, like, I am more open to dating fishmen? No. But it was a hot fish. Like, you could tell he was ripped, and you wanted so much for the main character, played by Sally Hawkins, who I thought it was just amazing that they showcased a main character. They want, his film centered on a character who was mute. I thought that was so beautiful. So I haven't seen too many of his films to, like, be a total expert, but I really appreciate the risks he takes in his films. And plus, I also love his friendship with Alfonso Cuarón.
Oh, right, so. that little rat pack that they have together.
Yes, so and then Iñárritu también.
Yeah, like, it's just so cute. Like, I think the best way to describe the way people receive Del Toro's film is how my dad was talking about Shape of Water a while back, because he likes to go down the list of the ones that are coming out for Best Picture, make sure that he sees them all. And he was talking with my aunt one time. She was like, Junior, have you heard of that Shape of Water movie? And my dad was like, yeah, I've seen it. And she was like, it's just so weird. Like, it's like a fish man, and, like, they fall in love. And my dad was like, yeah, and it's fucking beautiful, and it's probably going to win an Oscar or two. Like, that.
It actively upsets me whenever I see people go, of course The Shape of Water would win Best Picture. It's such a cliche movie. But, like, it's a straight up genre movie about a fish man.
A hot fish man. And love takes all forms. And so it shows that, people who can't speak, they can still find love and showcase their love. And fish people, they deserve love too. Damn it! I will die on this hill.
He Fishman Snack. He Fishman.
Who played the Fishman?
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones.
Oh wait, I don't know. Wait.
You know him. If you
okay, a note for the audio. I am Googling.
He plays the Baron in What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show.
Oh, yes. Oh, he's hilarious.
If I'm not mistaken, he also plays I forget his name. I'm sorry. Hocus Pocus. The zombie. Is it Thackeray?
No, it's not Thackeray.
Oh my gosh! Apparently, he's a contortionist and a mime.
Everybody, shut the fuck up! And most importantly, he plays Commander Saru in Star Trek Discovery.
I knew you were going to say that. I was on his
Wikipedia. He's a Kelpian.
We have no choice but to stand.
Man snack.
Doug Jones, come on the pod. We have so many questions.
Fishman.
I do. I genuinely do. Like, how does it feel to be one of the most famous people to never be seen.
How does it feel to be hired for roles where when they put makeup on you, you look normal?
And hot.
Because it's in some interview or something where they specifically go, oh yeah, because I'm so thin, whenever they put appliances on me, my proportions become normal.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Like in Hellboy, whenever he plays Abe, like when they put those materials on him, the applications, you're like, oh, that's just a healthy human being. Yeah. Well, no, there's at least 3 inches of latex. He's just so thin.
Yeah, because he Fishman Snatter.
Yeah. But
Doug Jones is not in Blade 2.
No, he's not. I mean, we wish he was.
Gotta be in Blade 2 somewhere.
Maybe he'll be in Blade 2 and a half.
Favorites. Maybe. like Timon and Pumbaa credit. But there are some fan favorites of Del Toro's in here. We got Ron Perlman.
Not the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC manager.
Thank you, Olivia, for the clarification. What's his name? Luke Goss is in here as well. He played the Prince in Golden Army for Hellboy 2. So lots of yummy bits in here with Del Toro. But yeah, this is an interesting film because one, it's a sequel to a D-lister Marvel character, and I think they took a big risk with going with Del Toro.
I mean, yeah, but before we get into that, it's probably important to say that some people thought that this D-list superhero should be on the F list. In a review titled Monsters, Inc. by Mark Holcomb of The Village Voice, published March 26, 2002. Aaron, is everything okay over there?
Yeah, it's just I like the name. That's a different movie.
Sure, it is.
And it's before Monsters, Inc.
Yeah.
Returning to pulp territory after The Devil's Backbone, Mexican director Guillermo del Toro cribs from his earlier work in an attempt to breathe life into Blade 2, a sequel to the 1998 Marvel Comics-inspired potboiler. The titular vampire-hunting hybrid, Wesley Snipes, who still delivers his lines like he's chewing a mouthful of Old Testament, is now living in Prague with a new sidekick and eventually the resurrected old one, Chris Christopherson. The trio forms an uneasy alliance with an elite vampire militia to track down and exterminate a mutant strain of bloodsuckers called Reapers, or as conveniently adept as kung fu acrobatics as their more evolved brethren. The team infiltrates the undead subculture, which looks like a Pepsi commercial shot in an S&M club, and confronts the mosquito-like creatures in their subterranean lair. There are several double crosses, a few telegraphed plot twists, and a dozen changes of fetish wear before the final confrontation. Screener David S. Goyer's One, Omega Men on steroids premise inflates every well-worn trope of the genre and even drags in a few contemporary hot buttons: mutating viruses, drug addiction, genetic engineering, and, fleetingly, race hatred. But effective horror, as Del Toro seems to have grasped elsewhere, tends to rely on the abasement of deeply held values, not the antics of cardboard cutout ghouls or vague headline-inspired jitters. The only thing Blade 2 values is its ability to deliver a staggering body count. Del Toro's overripe style may fit the film's comic book milieu to a T, but the only dread it inspires is in the possibility that its director prefers turning human flesh into CGI-enhanced mush over exploring genuinely frightening material.
Dang.
For the frying waterfalls. So sorry to say anything unkind about Mr. Del Toro.
I know. He didn't need that because, I mean, the man, like, let him do his thing.
Let him do his weird shit, man.
I mean, yeah. Do that. Yeah.
What I do like about this film is it really does seem like Goyer came with the script and Del Toro was like, well, what if we added this? And Goyer was like, that's weird, but I'm okay with it. and then they just put it in. And like it does seem like a beautiful meld of Del Toro and Goyer. Like I can see their voice and hear their voice throughout the film. Because with Goyer you have that longevity world building throughout the film that is comic book movies at this point. And with Del Toro, it's just those weird like. And what's interesting is the Reaper image of the jaw, the unhinged jaw that opens up.
No.
It's so good. It's so good every time.
Yeah, like it's the Predator jaw. In other words, like from Predator. It's weird. It's gross. But that's Norwegian folklore of vampires, if I'm not mistaken. That was their idea, that it was more of like a little tooth that like a mosquito that sucked out the blood, not the individual teeth. So it was, Del Toro took inspiration from that and then just put a predator on top of it. So like he's utilizing different things. Like the man does his history, and like that's what vampires look like to some cultures. So I think that's cool. I will admit, if you looked at the first big fight in the movie, you're like, God, this sucks.
Sucks.
You're like, it's no. But what I will say, what I've heard it described as the wire fu, the kung fu on wires and stuff that they call it, was Donnie Yen's choreography.
Awesome.
Like
standing. I was so surprised to see Donnie Yen in this movie.
Who's Donnie Yen for people like
Snowman.
myself? Oh, okay.
Guy with the katana.
Okay. Oh, nice. That's cool.
He was also in Rogue One.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am the Force. The Force is with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's cue Celine Dion. It's all coming back to me now. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, Donnie Yen is he's an alpha, so they did say it was a little weird when he would recommend choreography and Wesley Snipes was in the room.
Ooh,
to be a fly on the wall.
You're right. Like when I heard that, I was like, "Oh God, if I could have been there!" Like, but yeah. So I do see where the critic is coming from, especially in those first few minutes. It's weird. Like especially if you didn't watch the first Blade, you're coming to this like, why is this old man in red wine hooked up to tubes, and why is Wesley Snipes always in leather, and who's this kid with long greasy hair that's always smoking and watching cartoons? Like
Norman Reedus.
Yes.
It's a weird movie structurally because the first 30 minutes dedicates most of its runtime not necessarily to the active plot, but to trying to get Whistler back to being a character.
Who's not Jeff Bridges.
Not Jeff Bridges. There was a little bit of confusion that he was the Grand Canyon. I cleared that up. My mistake.
Thanks, Kenny.
That's just his face.
I have a question though. Okay, so when we get
he's that old.
When we get to the plot, which is trying to Blade is essentially paired up with this group of elite vampires who are programmed to kill him at any moment, but to go ahead and try to fight this other new group of vampires called the Reapers. I couldn't help but think, did Stephanie Meyer, when she was writing Eclipse, did she get influence from Blade 2? Because if you will recall, in that movie, in that book, basically Victoria, Bryce Dallas Howard in Eclipse, is basically she
played Victoria in Eclipse.
Yeah. Okay, but for the listeners, she bites this guy named Riley, and then Riley is tasked with biting all of these humans to create like a new breed of newborn vampires. So I just couldn't help but make that comparison.
I mean,
Stephanie Meyer.
Del Toro's a trendsetter.
Stephanie
He
Meyer.
is.
Batman?
I would not be surprised. Also, I would not want to make out with the Reaper because I don't want to have to deal with all that. Like
Flip action.
It would be too much. And this is coming from somebody who has very full lips. Like it'd be too much. Like I just I do have a question though. Do we know why Nimbusha Wright was not in this movie?
More than likely because they didn't need a surrogate character to be in the movie at all.
Okay.
Just you needed that character to get into the world of Blade, and now it's equal. So just throw her away, which is unfortunate.
I know. I missed her.
At the same time, like going back to the parallels with the '89 Batman movie, Batman Returns, there's no Vicky Vale in Batman Returns. Instead, we're just kind of in Batman Returns, you're with Batman even less. This movie, you know what the world is.
Also, what I think could have been a reason is I believe Nisa was supposed to be a serious love interest, sex scene and everything. And so, which is weird that Blade has sex. I don't know why that's weird to me. But what they could have been going is that could have just added an extra layer that wasn't necessary with having Nimbusha Wright, even though we all said, is it going to happen or won't it happen? But it never happened. So you're just kind of led to believe like, oh, they're not, you're not romantically interested in each other. And then because if I'm not mistaken, the Nisa Blade sex scene was kind of pulled last minute. Like, I think it was after a couple of screen tests that they decided to opt out of it.
I could see why they, like, I thought that was coming at some point.
Yeah. Like, it does. So, like, maybe that was, like, so, like, whenever they were casting and doing everything, they're like, yeah, there's no need for Nimbusha just because we're looking at going with a love interest for Blade. And we acknowledge that was a helper in his time when he needed it kind of thing. So maybe they, like, from the beginning, they just weren't going with it. But, yeah, so we've talked about the elite vampire hunters. We talked about Donnie Yen, but there's another Del Toro fun face we got in there, Ron Perlman. Anybody else love Ron Perlman?
I mean, he's the best.
Oh God, he's so good.
He's the best. He's sass incarnate.
He's a grumpy cat.
Gotta appreciate the sass, man. Like,
it's so good. His online presence, just like it's outstanding because every reply from anyone that disagrees is basically "fuck you."
So that's literally his tweets.
I was just kind of wishing you a good day. Fuck off. Get out of here with that. I know you.
That's basically. I admire that attitude though, because like that's like when a guy that I don't find attractive tries to slide in my DMs, and I'm just like, no, leave me alone. Fuck off.
Fuck off. Like that's all you can do. Like they're not going to listen. They're going to be that low. And funny enough, as
better be funny.
As kind and not to say that it's not going to be funny, but as kind and as loving as this man is, he was supposed to play a Nazi in this movie.
Sure.
The original film was supposed to have Reinhardt play a Nazi character, a Nazi that only spoke German.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that tracks because Del Toro, he talks about the he's dealt with a few movies with World War II and Nazis and Nazi symbolism before. Like Hellboy is surrounded by Nazi symbolism. We also have the Spanish Civil War, which kind of took place around World War II as well, with Pan's Labyrinth. But yeah, so it's not my favorite Ron Perlman character. This one might be third because Hannibal Chow is my first one from Pacific Rim.
His favorite character from his favorite person from his second favorite Chinese restaurant.
It's such a fun character.
Outstanding.
And Hellboy is second after that, and then Reinhardt. But yeah, you could tell there was supposed to be like racial undertones with his character as well. In this one is because when Reinhardt asks Wesley Snipes, "Do you blush?" Apparently, that was a racial incident that Wesley Snipes actually had that he told them to put it in the movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So apparently that was something like, I guess it was saying that, racism is all around, even superheroes are facing it, so to speak.
Where is Del Toro at in his career at this point, Aaron?
At this point, if I'm not mistaken, he's still kind of that weird guy, without a doubt. Kronos is done. Mm-hmm. Hellboy came out in 2004.
I'm assuming he's Del Toro's entire oeuvre.
Yes. Well, actually, okay, I lied. I have not seen Antlers.
That's not directed by him, though.
Yeah, it's just another producer. But anything that has his name, I do my best to watch it. So, at this point, he's done Kronos, Devil's Backbone, because this came out in 2002.
Yeah, apparently it came out months before Spider-Man 2. Like a couple. Mm-hmm. The Spider-Man 2 came out May of 2002, and the world exploded. And that's when superhero movies were back, because that movie made it shattered the box office that weekend. I remember that.
Yeah, so he doesn't have a ton. He's definitely word of mouth, behind the scenes, small guy. Kronos, he's Dona Erlinda and her son was in the 80s. Bullfighter as well. So he's coming into his own. Yeah. He's definitely not anywhere of where he is trust-wise, I think. Yeah. He's just known as that guy with a weird eye for cinema.
Because he does these super tiny, or what seems to be tiny, but outrageously atmospheric horror films in Mexico. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then he comes to play ball in the American studios with, I think it's Mimic.
Yeah.
And has just the worst time on that because it's the Weinsteins. And gross. Just undercut him at all turns. He goes to do, what is it, Devil's Backbone?
Mm-hmm.
After that, to cleanse the palate, because Mimic is just not his vision. And then comes back into the studio system with this thing, and then from there, it's off to the races for Del Toro making American films.
Yeah, it's because in growing up, he liked doing makeup, so he did makeup on a lot of studio shorts in Mexico, and he started dabbling there, directing some short films. Starts making a jump in other places, doing storyboard material, and then Kronos and Devil's Backbone, or Kronos is kind of what's like, hey, he's got some footing. Mimic the Weinstein, make life living hell for him. Then dips his toe into Blade, and to me, Blade 2 kind of solidifies like, hey, it's weird, but he does it pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was gross. Yeah. I will tell you, I couldn't fully enjoy the last part of the movie because it started getting kind of gory, but I respected it. And for a note for the audio, if you want to see that clip, I'll pin it to our Instagram highlights. And yeah, you can check it out. But yeah, it's just I totally bought into the world that he created. I think it was just very well done. And Jared Nomak, like his makeup was really good. The vision for him. We
stand a Jared.
We do. I mean, he went to Jared.
It can only be.
Yeah. Jared's come on the pod. Also, Jared Nomak, who plays Jared Nomak, if I'm not mistaken.
Luke Goss.
Luke Goss, come on the pod. We'd love to. But yeah, I totally bought into the world that Del Toro that he created. You could just tell it wasn't like cheap looking. I don't know. That's just my.
It's definitely a visual step above the first movie, which was made on the cheap. Aaron, what was the budget for this movie?
Budget for Blade 2. Please hold.
Holding.
The budget was 54.
That's
54 mil. Opening weekend 32. Domestic 82, and a worldwide of 155.
Nice. Wow, that's a nice chunk of change for this movie. It looks so much better than the first one.
Yes, you could tell when they were dabbling with CG and live, mixing. It didn't look too hot, but it's 2002. You can't get mad. And for 2002, I know a lot of people were like, "Whoa, that looked good," but like at the same time, it looks kind of rough, especially some of the wire fight scenes.
I feel like Del Toro knows how to. Maybe this could just be me being overly optimistic, but I feel like he knows how to stretch a budget and make something look really good. Like I think Hellboy was made for around $70 million, and that looks massive.
Yeah, it's a huge. I mean, it goes from period piece to genre film. Like it's very all over the place.
Granted, $70 million back in 2003, 2004 was a lot more money back then, but still, like comparatively, X2, X-Men United was made for like $110, $120 million.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's, but yeah, so it was a pretty decent chunk of change, and I think Del Toro is kind of used to being given a low budget, and he just makes it work because he does. What I like about what he does is he does a lot with very little, and what I see there, I do like it when he bites down. Like in the very beginning, you can tell you're in a different vampire movie when he bites the person, and all of a sudden there's blood all over the wall.
Yeah,
you're like this isn't a vampire movie I've seen before.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I just the whole time, like the parts that I could see, I was just like, I could just hear like the explosions or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I know that vampire died. Okay, that looks gross. And then when they were cutting open that one Reaper who died of thirst, and they were like,
that was so cool.
I thought that was cool. Like, did I watch all of that scene? No, but just them making that discovery of like, hey, there's bone that's like covering the front of the heart, and it just gives you like detail as to like, why when like Blade is trying to kill Jared, like he's trying to do so from the side. It's just details like that I thought were so.
Yeah, doubling down on the science of these things. Like, oh yeah, no, of course. This, for some reason, this is why the biology of these things would work. It's so good. It's so good. 10 out of 5 stars.
And I will say, Olivia, don't worry. I'm honestly, and it's weird that I like these movies because I'm not a scary movie kind of guy. It's not my forte. I don't mind gore. It doesn't bug me too much. But I'm not a scary movie guy. As Duran, when he took me to go watch one of the Paranormal Activity movies, I had to rub my eyes a lot just because I didn't want to watch the scene. So I would do that a lot just so I could tell.
Nor do you like the Wayans brothers scary movies. Like we've established that before. Right?
Yeah, not a huge fan of those.
Let's do that. I'm sure that those movies hold up great.
They're so
oh my
gross.
gosh. That's like saying gross. White Chicks holds up.
For a big group of people, it sure does. It's real weird.
But yeah, I'm right there with you, Olivia. Like, because like I said, I'm not not big onto it, but like the science is involved, and there's like some romance, and then there's like betrayal. It's almost like, you know, a Shakespearean take on a weird sci-fi vampire, Norwegian vampire trope. And I'm like, okay, this is up my alley, I think. Like,
yeah, it was. I liked the plot. It was just, yeah, it was. There's just parts, I guess, that I'm definitely squeamish. Let's just say that. This is why I couldn't be a physician.
I mean, Del Toro likes gross. It's kind of clear to see that he likes gross, yucky things. But I think that's just because like it's kind of what makes you feel something. And yeah, I think, I don't know why even the Reaper dying of thirst was really well done, because it just kind of looked like a hurt lion or something like that. The way he was moving yet still trying to be domineering, like even that was well done.
That's one of the lovely things about Del Toro movies in general. Like the monsters always have some sort of underlying empathy. You have underlying empathy for these things. Like I'm thinking about like the big climax of Hellboy 2. Spoilers. Well, maybe not the big climax, but going into like the third act of Hellboy 2, and they finally defeat the monster. And it turns out like it explodes in beautiful flowers that kind of just drip. They just kind of slowly fall onto the ground, and it's like, these aren't monsters. These are clearly misunderstood things.
Yeah.
Del Toro creates monsters with humanity, and it's wonderful.
Take the fish man, for example. The hot fish man.
He fish man snack.
Yeah,
snack.
He has feelings. He just wants to love and be loved. So I respect that, you know. And Jared, he just wanted to find acceptance and approval from his father.
Yeah.
And Luke Goss, it's weird. He's 2 for 2 on Del Toro films where they put him in translucent white clear makeup, and he's got daddy issues, and in a movie with Ron Perlman. Like it's a very weird thing that he's got going on with that. But I do think, and okay, this might not come as a surprise, but about every month or so I like to listen to Del Toro speeches.
No.
And
I can see that. That's very on brand for you, but like in a good way.
It's just we all have hobbies.
Yes, that's like me and my John Mayer obsession.
Yeah, like I would have a sweater with Del Toro faces, without a doubt.
Already on it.
Oh my gosh.
But what he, all of his speeches are great. You know, when he finally got a on the Walk of Fame in Los Angeles, his countless Oscar speeches. But one thing that kind of got me with it was, I think, like after the Golden Globes or one of them, it wasn't the Oscars yet, but they said you have a beautiful way to combine tragedy and love, or you have a great way to combine fear and pride and love and countless other things where he battles with duality. And without missing a beat, he just goes, that's just how I was raised as being Mexican. We see so many we appreciate life so much better. And one thing that he said that I just love to this day is that we all board on the same train once we are born. We board a train that the final destination is death. And it's on this trip that you get to live and love and experience and create relationships. Because regardless, we're all headed to the same destination. It's what you do on this train. And I'm like, God, why did this 2-minute video make me cry?
That's a live, laugh, love artwork that I would hang on my wall.
Right? Like, we all board onto the same train for destination death. And I'm like, and he's just saying it with a smile. Like, we're all going to die. Just enjoy the time that you have and experience everything. Experience the tragedy. All monsters have empathy. All monsters, have a humanistic characteristic about themselves. And I think he does that really well. And The only thing is I would have, because they do show like a little bit of human to Blade in this one, like where you can tell he's getting a little soft for Nisa. I would have liked a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I mean, also, Del Toro was not the auteur that he would become just even a couple of years later. So he's having to contend with a studio who probably certainly wants a movie. Probably certainly. They want this movie to be a certain way. Wesley Snipes, who wants this movie to be a certain way. David S. Goyer, who wants the movie a certain way. And I mean, that's kind of why we're doing this series. We're celebrating Wesley Snipes and the fact that he's able to headline this series and be one of the fundamental cornerstones of superhero cinema and the way that it came about. Like I said before, this is 2 months before Spider-Man 2 came out. In this period, there have basically been 3 superhero movies since 1998. Blade, X-Men, and Blade 2. Like, DC doesn't make another theatrical superhero movie until Batman Begins, I think.
Dang.
Which was Goyer too. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm learning so much about comic book film adaptation history. Like, honestly, like just within the last 2 episodes, and I wasn't even a big like Marvel super fan. So
it's weird to imagine that it's become such a huge part of our culture.
Yeah,
like it's. I remember in was it? I forget what year. It was in high school. It might have been my sophomore year. And my FFA teacher, we were on a trip, and my FFA teacher just kind of, we just started talking about comic book movies. He was like, Avengers is going to change cinema, right? Like, he just dropped it like that, and I was like, what? No, that's like, it's like, it was still seen like in 2010, 2009 that it was going, it was like a nerd thing. And that's because I played Dungeons and Dragons, and I played, Magic the Gathering and everything like that. And I was like, I don't think it'll have a global takeover like that. Like, nerd things don't do that. And he was like, no, it's going to go to the forefront. It's going to make a lot of money. And little did I know, 2 years later, it, was a dominating force that it is.
I mean,
hey, he needs to go on the pod, your FFA teacher.
I'd bring him
on. Yeah, just double checked. No other DC comic book movies until after Spider-Man. And technically, it was Road to Perdition. And then after that, I think, was Catwoman and Constantine after that. So the DC doesn't...
Oh, I have seen Constantine.
Hey, good movie. Haven't seen it in a hot minute. But I remember liking it at the time.
They've been itching for Del Toro to take on Justice League Dark Justice League with Constantine or Swamp Thing.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, what if Hot Fish Man became a part of the Justice League?
I mean, Swamp Thing.
Yeah, or Devilman. Yeah. Like, Devilman was an acrobat who, died doing a stunt, and now he's just like this pale, which Doug Jones loves doing that.
He does. It's true.
Pale acrobat who just kind of flies through walls and stuff now. So
that sounds like a superhero. Like a writer had 5 seconds to come up with something. Cool. Here's your deadline. What is it? Devilman? What's his story? He died. Okay, cool. Oh, how did he die? He is doing a stunt. He was just doing a stunt. Okay, I mean, we got to fill up this issue. Go get it.
Get it to print.
Yeah, he died doing a stunt. So I really thought it out.
It sounds like a small town's weird, eulogy for that crazy guy in such. He died doing a stunt. Just
doing what he loved. Us.
A stunt. Do you know what stunt it was? Just a stunt.
Just stunting, doing things.
It's good that we can laugh again, guys.
Yeah, I missed this.
I missed it.
Speaking of Daredevil, I think in this one they used Daredevil's tagline, which was "the man with no fear" for Blade, and that kind of pissed people off.
Oh man, I need to cover Daredevil.
Speaking of taglines, Blade also says, "Keep your friends close and your enemies closer," and I'm like, Godfather, like, you know.
And right when he says that, Scud comes into the background because Scud was the enemy in this one.
Yep. Oh, but notice he was also watching Powerpuff Girls like earlier in the movie.
Yeah. And Norm Reedus, who looks like a baby in this one, was actually 35.
What?
Yeah, he was like in his mid-30s, I believe, when he did Blade.
Damn.
It took me a second to convince myself that wasn't Eddie Furlong.
It's like he's got a very Keanu approach to entertainment, doesn't he?
I think so, because I really only have heard of him like from The Walking Dead.
I would say that he's far less prolific and, dare I say, adaptable compared to Keanu, where Keanu has been able to, I guess Norman Reedus has kind of honed his star persona as being kind of the guy from The Walking Dead. So too has Keanu been able to hone himself into being
the guy from The Replacements.
Being able to hone himself as someone that knows what his limitations are and being able to maximize them where applicable.
Yeah, and because like he's very picky. Boondock Saints and Walking Dead, which I'm surprised he signed on for a series. Just because like he doesn't seem like a guy that likes to be tied down, so to speak, to something.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mood.
Yeah,
what
like
makes you say that.
That sounds like some of the guys I've dated.
He just kind of seems like he wants each project to, at least from what I've seen, he wants each project to kind of be a strong passion project. He wants like good, strong punches, not a series of punches, just a good, strong one. And Walking Dead, which, I mean, he probably never has to work for a day in his life after that, but kind of just seems like he wouldn't want to be into something for the long haul.
I mean, Walking Dead started off as a passion project from Frank Darabont.
True.
I mean, and also Frank Darabont doing a TV show at the time. Huge, huge, huge deal. And that pilot is just perfection. And then the whole thing went downhill so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the comics, those comics I tore through.
Comics are great.
Anyways, the movie we're talking about is Blade 2, which is based off of comic books.
Yes, it's true.
Well, where's Wesley in his career at this point? I guess he's just doing the Blade movies.
Well, for whatever reason, he wasn't available to do much.
Oh, that's right.
During Blade.
What happened?
What happened, Darren?
Hold on. Let's see what he's got going on during this.
Let's figure it out.
Let's see.
Here we go.
So
here it comes. Aaron going to deliver that true.
Blade. Let's see here. Let's see.
Here it comes.
I actually typed Blade, not Wesley Snipes. My bad.
The actor is not Blade. The actor is Wesley Snipes.
No, he's actually Blade, Kenny.
He's Blade Brooks.
I finally saw that episode of What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, what'd you think?
I mean, it's just lovely. Wesley Snipes being a daywalker in real life. And him Wi-Fi. I'm so charmed.
And then just some of the people in the council, like Tilda Swinton.
The fact that Tilda Swinton is playing a vampire named Tilda. Just, yeah, of course. And then also, like, all of the, like, bringing in Paul Rubens to play a variation of the character that he played in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. Like, such a deep cut. Like, and
it's so good.
That's why I love just the What We Do in the Shadows universe. It's so outrageously specific.
What was it? We actually had one of our fans reach out on our posts this past week when I mentioned that Blade was part of like the foundation for the MCU. Somebody was asking, well, if that's the case, does that mean Tilda Swinton and the What We Do in the Shadows universe, does that mean that they're part of the MCU? Because technically...
No, Wesley Snipes is playing Wesley Snipes. He's not playing Blade in What We Do in the Shadows. Playing Wesley Snipes, who was in the Blade movie, which would mean that Blade, the movie... Never mind. I've gone cross-eyed.
That makes sense, though. But I was just like, huh, that's an interesting observation.
I wish it was in the MCU.
Yes.
Wesley actually had a huge 2002, y'all.
All right, good for you.
He had Blade 2. He also had Undisputed. He had Liberty Hill Stand. And Liberty Stand Still. And he also finished it out with Zigzag. So 4 films.
These movies, I've not heard of any of these.
Yeah.
So Zigzag in 2002, a drama indie film starring Wesley Snipes, John Leguizamo, Natasha Lyonne, Sam Jones III, Oliver Platt, and Luke Goss.
Luke Goss! That might have to be our next film.
And in Liberty Stand Still, which sounds like a TNT movie.
Aaron is Oliver boy.
Oliver Platt is an Aaron's boy.
I know that Oliver Platt has to be a Mia's boy.
I have to Google Oliver Platt. Hold on.
He was also in Liberty Stand Still. Linda Fiorentino.
Hey.
Wesley Snipes.
Hey.
Hart Bachner.
Hey.
Oliver Platt and Tanya Allen.
Wait, he did 2 movies with Oliver Platt that year?
Yep.
Right on. All right.
So far that I've seen.
We haven't established what the cast list is for Zigzag.
Oh, no, he's from
Zigzag
Working
was
Girl.
the first one.
Sorry, not Zigzag. The third film.
What is it? Undisputed.
Undisputed, yes. Where he fights Oliver Platt.
Wesley Snipes, Ving Rhames, Peter Falk, Michael Rooker.
Hey.
Fisher Stevens.
Hey.
And Ed Lover.
No Oliver Platt.
No Oliver Platt. So 2 out of 2 films in 2002.
Sure. So Blade 2 is basically his biggest movie for this.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But it's like doing. Man, John Leguizamo. I like that guy.
He's good. He's an interesting guy.
He's a good sloth in Ice Age.
Fact. Yeah.
But yeah, so he had a pretty big 2002, or just busy 2002, rather, I should say. But yeah, so he was contracted for other films where they got a good chunk of the film done and had just Blade's stand-in come in for some shoots.
Starting to exhibit some of that behavior that we're going to talk about probably at length in the Blade Trinity episode.
Oh, snap. If there's anything that I am drawn to, it's drama that I'm not a part of.
It's pretty bad in Blade 3.
This is why we're talking and praising the joy that is Wesley Snipes, because other actors get to be this kind of diva actor, but it's a bad thing when Wesley does the same things that other actors have done, probably far more. And also Wesley is one of the creative contributors and kind of helped bring Marvel out of bankruptcy.
Oof. Well, I'm very intrigued to discuss it next episode.
Yes.
I mean, if it wasn't for Wesley Snipes,
Single-handedly, if it wasn't for Wesley Snipes, he had no help whatsoever.
I mean, kind of. I mean, if Wesley hadn't taken it so seriously and put as much time and effort into Blade,
yeah,
and helped give David S. Goyer his, make Goyer's script come to life, and put so much longevity into it, Marvel wouldn't have legs to stand on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, we're just gonna say it. Blade Trinity does turn into a mess. There's a wrestler who's in it as well, which to me, anytime you have a wrestler in it, you're kind of asking for trouble because it's already. No, Triple H plays in it.
Leon's the wrestler. Anyways, go on.
But yeah, you're kind of just it starts to lose a little bit of credibility, and it gets a little slippery. But a lot of the stuff was, hey, I know what's been working, and they also have a lot of star power because there's a lot of great names in this one as well. Ron Perlman, Donnie Yen, of course, but they're not stars.
Yeah.
I think Ron Perlman probably has the most credit at this point. Maybe. If.
He's a character actor more than anything at this point.
Right. You've seen him the most and stuff.
He becomes a bigger star in Hellboy. I mean, ostensibly, I think the biggest star next to Wesley Snipes would probably be Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah, where they just spend the first 30 minutes of that movie bringing him back from the dead, and then if I remember correctly, like he almost dies again at the end of the movie, right?
Yeah. Just they couldn't even cut Whistler a break. Like, here he is trying to help his friend Blade, and on his mission, and then all these other vampires are giving him shit. Like, justice for Whistler.
What is the function of having Whistler back? Because so much of the movie is bogged down. And again, I like this movie. This is also my favorite Blade movie. But so much of it is bogged down by we got to bring Whistler back. And the problem with movies where you bring characters back from the dead, which Whistler ostensibly was, even though he was kind of a vampire, kind of in stasis, kind of like it was a little bit muddled. When you do narratives like that, it's the tension kind of evaporates because you're going, well, you could just bring them back, as opposed to Endgame, where you spend the entire movie bringing characters back to life, and they risk everything that they have. People get lost. They die on their quest to bring these people back. My go-to example was Star Trek 3. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
I think he was a plot device more so than anything in this one. I think it was just to help illustrate who can you trust kind of thing. I think that's the only reason to bring him back, and then just because it's Chris Christopherson and there's not a ton of star power in it, and you just if you have the opportunity to put a national park in your film, you got to do it.
Yeah, you take that opportunity.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. We stand
state parks.
Yeah,
we do.
We do.
You got that Eddie energy.
It's definitely my favorite Blade film, but I think because it's the most stylized. It's the odd.
It's made got director.
Yeah.
Also, I miss my boo Deacon Frost. That was another thing. I liked this movie, but I missed my boo.
I mean, there's not a lot of eye candy. Ron Perlman, but that might just be a me thing.
That might be bud.
The dude with the big hammer, maybe.
I didn't pay attention too closely.
The big hammer's kind of cool. Like, I think that's an odd choice for a weapon, but kind of cool.
What?
You're real slow.
Unless you get the hammer in Super Smash Brothers.
True. Then you're real fast.
If I could counter, it's a big hammer.
Yeah, but by the time you take to pick it up, put it around your head.
Right. It's a big hammer, though.
He has to have his arms, though. Like, if you're going to be, like, lifting.
You got to be jacked.
Yeah, you got to get a hammer.
You need big hammer energy if you want to bring around a big hammer.
Yeah.
BHE. Let's make
BHE.
that.
BHE.
Big energy.
But yeah, it's not, and maybe Priest. He was kind of cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean Wesley's always the eye candy in every film. But it's just he's got so much like cool like attitude to it too. So it's just like I don't know if you're not bringing zaddy energy. You're like bringing like Wesley energy.
Yeah.
And like I have to have some like capacity. Yeah, some bladitude. There we go. I like that, Kenny. And fun fact, Ron Perlman is never seen without his sunglasses in this film.
Awesome.
We stand somebody who knows how to accessorize.
Yeah.
Amen. Even when he was burned alive by the UV rays, which also, fun fact, 30 cast and crew members were partially blind during that UV ray scene.
Oh my gosh. Did they ever recover?
Yeah, they soon recovered, but they needed to take like a 1 week hiatus just because they were partially blind.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That certainly sounded like a rotten time.
Are we getting close to Rotten Tomatoes?
I think it's about that time, folks. It's time to play this podcast's second favorite game, next to the Stats and the Furious, and maybe the what was the Sandler game?
Oh, I thought it was who Olivia's thirsting over this week.
Okay, it's time to play this podcast's fourth favorite game. Tomatoes game. The Rotten Tomatoes game is based off the website Rotten Tomatoes, a film review aggregator that takes all submitted film reviews, averages them out by a pass-fail system that assigns a percentage on how many people might think a movie is either fresh or rotten. This is not a score that a film is X% good. It's only a score of how many people liked it. I will ask our panelists for two numbers, one being the critical approval rating of Blade 2, as well as the audience approval rating, and giving me a guess without going under what the actual score is. Now, Aaron, Olivia, if you could pick up your closest piece of media and put your hand on it and swear that you have not seen these scores before playing this game.
Haven't seen these scores before playing this game.
I have not seen the scores before playing this game.
Outstanding. Out of 151 critical reviews, starting with Miss Olivia Deacon Frost Thirst Trap Suarez.
Thank you. And this is the critical, right?
The critical score.
I feel like this movie maybe 45%.
40%.
Yeah, I feel like sequels are really hard to just do. I mean, if it's not The Godfather Part 2 or something equivalent to that, like I think also something could be said about Wesley Snipes and Blade's character development. Like there's really not a lot going on there. Yeah. And so I feel like they kind of honed in on that. Maybe some people noticed that maybe there was supposed to be more with Nisa and they cut that out too. Maybe some people just didn't dig Del Toro, which is a total shame. So I'm leaning on 45%.
45% is what Olivia says. Aaron, do you want a number?
I'm going to say a different number, Kenny.
Wow. Bold choice. Let's see if the strategy pays off.
I think Olivia's too high.
Whoa.
Because, yeah, you're right. I want to say 42.
42.
I'm going just under, only because I think, like you said, like when you go to a sequel, like, okay, they're going to fall in love. And they didn't fall in love, so I think it kind of like doesn't, your appetite isn't satiated just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's weird. And you're like, you could walk in there and be like, that was not a vampire movie. You're like, no, it's a Del Toro vampire movie. You're not going to get what you came in for. So yeah, I think it's going to be 42 just because those expectations were a little off.
So 42% from Aaron, 45% from Olivia. Panelists, your pessimism has not paid off. The correct answer is 7%.
Oh my gosh.
57%.
Whoa.
Okay.
Pessimistic. Don't ever underestimate the staying power of Wesley Snipes and Blade.
Sorry, Wesley.
My bad.
Of course, as we've established in previous Rotten Tomatoes game, the person that has guessed under the most needs to pay $30 choice. Audience score out of 450,758 audience ratings. Starting with 1, Mr. Aaron Salinas. What do you think the audience score is for Blade 2, directed by Guillermo del Toro?
I want to say 76.
76%.
Yeah, I think the people who liked it probably came out saying, that was cool.
They said it just like that.
Just like that.
As they walked out of the theater and into the sunlight.
Yeah, because they're day watchers.
Yes.
That's outstanding. Olivia.
I'm going to say 66% because what Aaron said, minus 10.
What Aaron said, minus 10. Well, Olivia, you're in for good news because Aaron has won this one without going under, and your good news is that you're just a really great friend.
Oh, thanks.
The correct answer is 68%. Aaron, you're our closest without going under.
Oh my gosh, I was so close.
Man, they just wanted to get it to 69, if we're being honest. That's the only reason.
You know what? Maybe... Okay, I have a question. So I know we've talked about what the Rotten Tomatoes score is, but is that like updated? You know what I mean? Like as more people are watching it and reviewing it, or is this like a snapshot of all the aggregate reviews from that time period?
For the critical score, that's for all critics that are Rotten Tomatoes approved. So that score could definitely be getting updated as we go along. And the audience score, I think that's just from people that use Rotten Tomatoes and go, man, I need to go rank Blade 2. So that's from me. Those numbers are from me pulling those numbers at 1 o'clock today.
Okay. I was just curious because, like, I mean, usually I'm pretty sure that maybe they would stay within the same range as when the film initially came out. But I know that, like, things can change and films can become cult classics too. So
it's true.
I was just curious as to how that worked.
See Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Cool.
True. And the video game is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, did not know that was a video game.
Mm-hmm. So I just have one question for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the enemy of my enemy my friend or my podcast?
Oh my gosh, that was too good.
Ending.
Any final thoughts, folks, on Blade 2, Guillermo del Toro's take on Marvel cinema in Marvel Comics? I'll say D-lister, maybe C-lister Blade.
Just Deacon, I miss you, and I understand why you're away. You know.
He died.
I know.
Whistler died.
But not in the way that Deacon died.
Wait, Whistler died in this movie?
He died in the first one.
He died in the first one.
Okay. I knew he died in the first one, but I was like, don't tell me I missed something when I was covering my eyes. I don't know. All I got was daddy issues in the third act.
Strong daddy issues.
Zaddy issues.
Kenny, any final thoughts on Blade?
No.
2? All right. Fantastic work, y'all. That is going to conclude this episode of Blade 2. Give me 2 seconds while I get the copy. So that's been our episode of Shame Watch, y'all. Thank you to Denise Hudson. Oh, that's good too. That has been our episode of Blade Watch. Thank you to Denise Hudson for our rockin' theme song, and to James Garcia for our artwork and that lovely review you gave us as well, James. We greatly appreciate it.
As a white man, it always feels good to have someone else say that I'm doing enough to be an ally.
Oh, God.
Bar and cleared it, so I appreciate that so much.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to Shame Watch on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you podcasts are found. Have suggestions, questions, comments, or just general tomfoolery you want to contribute to the pod? Send it our way. Visit us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at ShameWatchPod so we can talk with you. Finally, you can contribute to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShameWatch. It does cost money to put out superb content like this pod, so even a $1 donation can make a huge difference. Until next time, folks, our watch has now ended.
You got to read the names.
Oh, shoot. Now, what we always do for every episode, we never miss it without a beat, is
Never.
listing out our patrons. So first up, we have Kenny Madison from Austin, Texas. Aaron O. Salinas from Austin, Texas. Gene Fight from Bowling Green, Ohio. Alan Smith from Leander, Texas. Bradley McPherson from Tulsa, OK. We have Jen Steinberg from Austin, Texas. Heraclio Gonzalez Jr. from the room across the way in Austin, Texas. Ian Keegan from Gillette, Wyoming. Danny Cantu from San Marcos, Texas. Miranda Suarez from San Marcos, Texas. Irene Suarez from from San Antonio, Texas. And Nolan Barger from Austin, Texas. Kenny, thanks for giving me a quick reminder on that.
Hey,
and I appreciate that, bud. Until next time, folks, our watch has now ended. Dive at your own risk.
Big Hammer Energy.